Okay, everyone, now we come to the last slide, the last lecture on copyright, and this deals with the period or duration of copyright protection. In other words, when the author or the performer of the copyright work gets the copyright, right? Gets the copyright. At the moment the copyright work is created, how long, how many days, how many years, how many months, how many years does the author or the performer has the copyright protection? How long can the author or the performer tell people not to reproduce, adapt, or disseminate the work to the public? Alright? This period is known as the period of copyright protection. Now this is different from in different countries. The period of protection is different in different countries. In Thailand, if the copyright work is created by a natural person, in other words, a human being, right? The protection of the copyright or the protection period begins from the date that the copyright work is created. I repeat, it begins from the date the copyright work is created. That means the intellectual asset, the idea is put into some work. The moment it's put into some work, right? A soft file, a set of music notes, a film, a novel, into a book form, right? Okay, the song is recorded into a disc. From that moment on, okay, the copyright protection period is for the lifetime of the author or the performer. The lifetime. Right? So this is the lifetime. The creation date of the copyright work, and it goes on until the day the author dies. And then the protection goes further. The protection period goes further for another 50 years. After the death of the author, the protection goes on, continues for another 50 years. And then that's it. So if the copyright work is created by a human being, a natural person, it begins from the date that the work is created. It goes on until the death of the author, or you call the lifetime of the author or the performer, and it continues. It continues for another 50 years after that. And that's it. After this, no more copyright protection. After this, there's no more copyright protection for the natural person. If the work is created by a juristic person, a company, a foundation, an association, the protection period is 50 years. From the date of creation, from the date that the work is created, the protection continues for 50 years. And that's all. 50 years from the date of creation, if the copyright work is created by a juristic person. Alright, there's one last question here. There's one last question here to be answered. Alright, and I'll leave this question with you. We will discuss that further in the class. And the question is, of course, why is the protection period not forever? Why does it goes on if it's a natural person who created the copyright work, it is the lifetime of the author or performer, and it goes on for another 50 years and that's it. Why doesn't it goes on forever? You know, for the juristic person it's only 50 years from the date of creation. 50 years. Why doesn't it goes on forever? After all, it is the copyright work of the author or the performer, right? It is the author or the performer who first have the idea or the intellectual asset. Why doesn't the protection of copyright law protects the author or the performer forever? Why does it goes only for a limited period of time? Think about it, and we'll discuss that in the class.